welcome to the second in the series of Wellness Centers and Peer-Driven Programs webinars. Anne McCrae is once again going to be your host, but she has some other very talented panelists lined up who are going to talk to you too about their wellness programs. Just a reminder, you are all muted on this webinar just to avoid any background noise. However, you can ask questions or make comments by typing in the questions box that is down, that you should see on your dashboard. And you can also, if you look at the list of attendees, you can raise your hand, and then we'll know. Click the hand, and then we'll know that you want to speak. Okay, so Anne, take it away.
Take it away. Hi, everybody. I think some of you I got to know in the last webinar, but if not, my name is Anne McCrae. I'm the facilitator, but this time around I'm not going to be talking as much because we have a great panel lined up. On your opening screen that I hope you see, the list of the panel members is there. Marlinda and O'Dyer and Boanna Gorsuch from Trinity County are here from Milestones Wellness Center. Marlinda actually is quite ill, so she is not going to be able to attend today. Boanna can handle it, but I also work for Trinity County, so I may switch hats at some point and pretend I'm a panelist. John Stapp from Second Home in Shasta County, Reading, is here representing his center. Amy Breckenridge and Susan Standen from Sonoma County, the Wellness and Advocacy Center in Sonoma, is here. Susan is having a little bit of technical difficulty getting on, but hopefully she'll be able to join us. Whenever you're dealing with this many people, sometimes the technology can be a challenge. Particularly, we have 45 people signed up for this, so Shoshana is going to be somewhat the gatekeeper. One of the problems with a panel of this size is everybody, of course, wants to talk about their fabulous programs. So we're going to have to be a little limited in how much time we could spend on each slide. I'm hearing a lot of background noise. There we go. Thank you, whoever that was. Okay, so let's get moving. Oops, why is it this? There we go. Just to give you an idea how we laid it out. Again, 3 wellness centers in Northern California will be presenting today. There is a ton of information. So we divided it into 3 sections on organization, services, and current issues and future directions. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions, but the way I have it set up is we have a couple of slides under each of those main topics, and then we'll break for questions or comments. The speakers have been asked to keep their talking on the speech slide to a minimum, just because we have so much to cover. I also do want to let you know that we do have some additional resources for you. There was no way we could cover all this great work in 90 minutes. So there will be other resources available for you, and the panel members will introduce those other resources as we go along. Okay, so before we really get started, is there any questions right now? Nope. Let's move on. Oh, wait, let me back up a minute. So the first slide we have here is models and funding, and this will be a little brief. This is just to give you some background. So we have Trinity, Shasta, and Sonoma. Trinity is in, the main wellness center is in Weaverville. In Shasta, it's in Reading, and Sonoma, it's in Santa Rosa. So Boanna from Trinity, any points you want to highlight under the models and funding? Boanna?
Boanna, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Okay. Under funding, no.
Okay. It's pretty self-explanatory. One of the things I would say is that under the membership model, we do, being in the area that we are, we have a couple of little caveats. Because we have a lot of what's called travelers, particularly during the summer, and there's a long reason for that, we do ask members to be a resident of Trinity County for 60 days before they become members. So that's a little bit unique to a rural area, maybe a little different from some of the other models you're used to. John, is there any particular point you want to mention about modeling and funding in Reading?
Hold on, I need to unmute John. Okay.
Okay, so really it's just the main thing I wanted to discuss was that we're located, close to services. That's one of the things that the consumers wanted when we started our wellness center, is that we needed to be close because we're so spread out here in Shasta County. So we actually have 2 wellness centers. We've got one here and one up in Bernie, and they're just to be close to services. So.
Mm-hmm. Great. Amy, anything particular you want to point out about models and funding in Sonoma?
Certainly. Just briefly, we're very fortunate that our wellness center is located in a very kind of rural setting, which allows people to experience a very peaceful environment. We also have another self-help center in Santa Rosa, which is located downtown and slightly more accessible by bus, but I think our setting is one of the things that makes this center very conducive to serenity.
Amy, are you talking through your computer or on a phone?
Through my computer.
Okay. There's quite a bit of feedback. Not sure what to do about that. Did anyone else, did you guys hear that?
I did.
I think yeah. Try turning the volume down a little bit, Amy.
Well, I've lost my microphone icon here. Let's see.
All right. Well, we can move on and
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
Okay. The next slide we talked about staffing and administration. Boanna, anything special you want to point out about Trinity?
At the moment, we do have this board of directors. They're not really our staff, but when they get developed, we're going to, they will have a budget that they basically are, it has to be approved, of course, but that they are responsible for. We have 2 of us that work here that are paid, and people are helping us off and on. Right now, we only have 1 actual volunteer, which is a girl that is working with arts and crafts. But I don't think, she's not paid, but she is official.
Mm-hmm.
We have the MHSA coordinator, Marlinda, Dr. Ann helping us, and we have the clinicians are right next to us. They're all available. Like we have a crisis worker here in the same building if we need to have someone talk to her and everything. But we have our membership model, and members do chores, and when they do them, they get a card punched, and after 10 weeks, if anyone has their 10 punches, we take them somewhere. Like we took them bowling a couple months ago, and we're about ready to go to an acorn festival the Winters are having.
Cool. I will say one thing back to the earlier slide on the physical arrangement. Our wellness center did have to move back into the behavioral health agency because of funding shortages, and there's certainly some negative aspects to that, but there's been some positive aspects. It's a separate facility within the larger behavioral health agency. I think there we go.
That's Amy. I just muted her.
Okay.
Amy, something is causing that noise. Sorry.
Okay. I did want to point out that the benefits of having the Wellness Center within the Behavioral Health Agency is that the clinicians have gotten better about understanding what we do and walking people in to introduce them to. So there's some conflict but some cooperation. So there's good news and bad news with that. Okay, on to Shasta. John.
So NVCSS is Northern Valley Catholic Social Service. We partner with the actually the second home board, which consists of consumers and participants, and that's all basically how the program is directed. The board of directors tells us how they want us to spend the money, and we just make sure that we keep that above board, open book, so to speak, with the county. Program manager is a paid position. That's myself, and then I've got 4 program assistants currently, all ranging between 20 and 16 hours. Consumer advocate is a full-time position. Advocacy coordinator is a full-time position, and the greeter is a full-time position. And of those, myself and one other are the only non-consumers. It's all consumer employees. Volunteers, we ebb and flow, but it's pretty much about between 15 and 20 at any given month or quarter. And they do a whole range of things working with our staff. And the majority of staff that I have on right now were volunteers of the program. We weighted it that way, so when we were able to hire, they got first choice. So that's how we're working with our staffing and administration.
Amy, did we solve your technical problems?
Unmuted.
Well, you'll have to, can you hear me now?
It's really loud, actually.
All right, I'll turn it down a little more. Is that better?
Yeah, let's try it.
All right, so our fiscal model is that Goodwill Industries is our fiscal agency. They hold the contract, the Mental Health Service Act contract with Sonoma County Mental Health. We are a 100% consumer-operated, managed, and planned program. Goodwill basically helps us with accounting. We utilize their human resource department. And they're a very hands-off agency. They also hold the contract for our self-help center. And since the beginning, I think that's one of the real benefits we've had here is that we have a good working relationship with Goodwill, but we feel very autonomous.
Mm-hmm.
I have 10 paid employees. Everyone, as I said, is a consumer. We have several program directors, art director, computer, lab coordinators, several peer counselors, admin assistant. We also have about 30 volunteers, both member volunteers and community volunteers at any given time.
Great. So you can see, and actually I'll move on to the next slide now. Why is my computer doing that? Sorry. There we go. On those last 2 slides, we've already covered a tremendous amount of information. You can see some similarities, but certainly some differences. So right now I'd like to have Amy, I'm sorry. Shoshana's going to have to cut down your mic sometimes because for some reason
I muted her again.
Yeah, we're getting a tremendous amount of feedback. I don't know why. But for right now, I'd like to open it up to the audience. In terms of the 2 slides you've already seen, models and funding and staffing and administration, any questions, any comments?
There's nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
I'm a panelist, but I have a question.
Yes.
On the membership, what does that look like? On the first, I think it was the first slide, membership.
Yes. Boanna, do you want to answer that for Trinity County, or you want me to?
Okay, our membership model, we have people, they're allowed to come in for 3 times to see if they actually want to become a member here, because we actually have lunches every day, so sometimes people come in that are just passing through. Every once in a while someone brings them, but if they come back the 3rd time, they have to join, or they're not allowed to come again. They sign up and they agree to that they will do chores every day, that they will participate in some activities, or lead a group or join a group. And also, they are agree to have a counseling session, a goal-setting interview. It usually takes about 15 minutes. Once in a while, someone gets really interested and it takes a little bit longer. But we help them specify their goals and steps that they need to take in order to reach those goals. They need to come back once a month, and we try to see if they have done anything about it or what they could do. Usually pretty soon we get to know some people and use other wellness tools. Like if they're having anger problems, we have a bunch of different papers from Dr. Ann and tools that we are able to use to help them see kind of how they can manage their anger better and maybe get them set up for some other treatment, maybe with the other clinicians on behavioral health. And if they're not financially eligible, like they don't have Medi-Cal, or so far CMSP hasn't been covering stuff yet, then we try to see if we can get someone to come in and maybe talk to them or to start a group or a workshop sometime.
Yeah, I think to add to that, this may sound a little restrictive, but it evolved in this way, probably because of some factors that are unique to rural areas, and particularly Trinity County. As I said, particularly in the summer, we have groups of people called the Travelers, which are mainly marijuana harvesters. We live in the Emerald Triangle, and it's just a reality of where we live. And it was becoming a real drain and a real problem. And not that we wanted to refuse services to anybody. However, it was people were just coming on, grabbing food, grabbing clothes, and leaving, and not really participating, and in fact, in some ways, scaring some other people off. And we wanted it a center where people contributed, and this was the model we came up with, and we've had pretty good buy-in. I would be interested in hearing from the audience if there are anything unique in your counties where you've had to have particular restrictions for any reason.
We've had a couple questions and hands raised. Wind, do you want to go for it? I'm unmuting you.
Thank you. I have something I wanted to say, but I want to respond to what you said. We also are in the Emerald Triangle, and we had a similar situation in especially one of the two of our centers. One is in Ukiah and one is in Willits.
Yep.
And we wrestled with this. And so what we chose to do differently is that we wanted an open door. We didn't want to close in on membership because we have a lot of people that are homeless that just find out about us. And I know I heard what you said about 3 times and everything, but we kept an open door. And what we did was a pretty aggressive screening as we had our seasonal people, and we also had, part of that screening was, are you living in Mendocino County? Are you a resident of the county? And then the second thing, what we discovered is we actually had some people who were at risk, who were, if you will, wandering with a group that maybe put them at more risk, and they ended up coming for services. But it took a lot of work on the front end from our staff.
Yes.
And a lot of days of really unhappy situations, and at one point police intervention because of neighborhood concerns.
Yes. I think Boanna was a little underrepresentative of the great work that she does, because she is one of the peer specialists and does exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Very often, particularly vulnerable people, she has been a tremendous service to them and helped them get more stabilized. The other thing that we do is, because we can't afford to keep feeding everybody, is that we're very good at providing other resources. You know, we do
Nice.
make sure people know where the soup kitchens are, things like that.
Yeah.
So every county's a little different, but I hear what you're saying.
I have a question though. I was, you know, because the membership thing is, how many, is there a point in the PowerPoint that you'll be sharing how many clients you serve, especially those with membership? What does that look like in terms of numbers?
I don't know if we have that on a slide. Boanna, how many members do we think we have right now?
Right now we have filled out paperwork for from 40 to 50, but we really only have about 20, 25 that come in regularly.
Again,
the other ones are kind of inactive.
Right. This is a very low population rural county.
Right.
You're going to have higher numbers on the coast. Can we get Amy back on? I'd like to hear how's her technology working.
I will try.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. I guess my lack of a microphone in my headset is what's causing the difficulty. I apologize. We have about 1,000 or so members in our center and serve approximately 40 people a day.
Yeah, so we're talking much larger, and it's going to be different issues. In terms of your membership, are there criteria, Amy?
A basic criteria is that people have to self-identify as having mental or emotional difficulties which have significantly impacted their life. Sorry about that. And we ask people about those difficulties, what areas that they want to work on, what their goals are. And we also ask them background information about whether they receive any other mental health services, their financial situation, and offer them support and resources to other services as well.
Okay. I think in between talks I'll try as much as possible to keep you included, Amy, but I'm going to ask Shoshana to mute you in between because we're still having a little trouble with your technology. Shoshana, were there other questions?
Yes, there are. Milestones Wellness asked, Anne, has anyone really talked about funding yet?
Not yet. We're getting there. You will notice on the slide before, in fact, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to you will notice at the bottom of this slide, we talked about MHSA funding, primarily handles most of it. Shasta has the advantage of some additional donations because they run through a nonprofit. I'm going to minimize the discussion of funding on this webinar because, and I invite you all to come back for the 4th webinar where it's going to be pretty much devoted to funding and outcome studies and things like that because it's a huge area, and you will see, we'll talk about it a little more when we talk about dilemmas. But we are going to hit it, but not as much right now.
There's another question that may have already been answered. Amanda Meek wants to know, on a given day, about how many people or members do you see or have at your center? I think we
right. It varies a lot. It tends to vary a lot depending on the location. As we said, oh, something needs to be muted. I'm getting a lot of feedback, Shoshana.
Yeah, I'll try and figure it out.
Is that from Milestones? Okay.
Got it.
Got it. Thank you. To answer the question, it really depends on the size of the county. Obviously, on the coast, they're seeing a lot more people. Down in Sonoma, even more. Redding is in a semi-urban area. Up here in Trinity, we probably only have about 20 to 25 active members because it's a huge county with a low population.
And
hopefully that.
With Shasta County, you know, we've got the I-5 corridor, especially here in Redding, and we don't have a membership, but you know, like I said, with our active volunteers and then our staff, you know, we average daily of just that of about 20, and then with the participants that just come in, they just have to be 16 and over. Really, that's the main criteria. and willing to fill out a little 2-page demographic so we can report back to the county, and then they're members for life. That's the other thing. So they're a participant once they come through the door, and we average probably, well, we're averaging unduplicated, brand new people through the door. We're averaging about 65 a month. So that's some of the numbers.
I'm going to move on a bit because I am concerned we have a lot more to talk about. We'll leave time at the end also for more questions.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, go ahead.
Want to move back?
No, keep. There's one more hand raised, but we can move on.
No, go ahead. I hate holding. One more question.
Okay, Christina Palomo.
Hi.
Christina,
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to comment on the wellness center that's having trouble with the neighbors and the police involvement.
That was over on the coast.
Yes. What our wellness center does here in Inyo County is that we volunteer to clean up streets in our neighborhood, and we have recently made a very successful food drive for the food pantries in our neighborhood, as well as Christmas gifts to needy persons at Christmas time. And we're doing this to reduce the stigma of our center and to keep good relations with our neighbors.
Yes, I'm really glad you brought that up. It will come up more when we talk about programming. I think one of the concerns and issues that all the wellness centers have is acceptance and inclusion in the community and what we can do to foster that. Some situations, and I'm speaking for the person who was speaking on the coast, does get more problematic when it goes beyond just the issue of stigma and it gets into some people who may be potentially violent, and that does become a police matter. But I do agree with you, and I'm glad you brought it up, that some of it is just ignorance and stigma, and we can be proactive in addressing that. So hopefully we'll talk about that a little more, but I do want to move on. Thank you for your comment, though. Okay, let's get into talking some about programming. Again, you will see I had such a hard time getting this slide down to one slide because all the information that all three of the groups gave me was just absolutely fantastic. So what we're going to do is just highlight a few things. Is there anything from Trinity you want to especially point out that you are particularly excited about, or you think might be a little different?
We are involved in different activities during May is Mental Health Month.
Right, we're going to talk about that later. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to tell about the car wash.
Oh, go ahead.
Goodwill. Last year for Goodwill for the neighborhood, we had a free car wash, and anybody that came over and brought their car through, we washed for free. And we had almost 100% participation in it. It's not at the actual car wash. For some other disabled people, they made the flyers and the advertisement, baked for it, or stood around and gave out literature to talk to the public. And we had a great outpouring of people coming in with things to donate, like food, clothes, etc. And it created a lot of goodwill.
That builds perfectly on what the comment from the woman in Inyo County said. Another example of the same kind of thing that isn't on this list is that we do a gift wrapping event around the holidays for the churches who give out gifts for the children, and they bring the gifts to us and we wrap them. So it's another kind of connection with the community kind of thing. Okay, any special highlights in Shasta County?
Those are just our popular groups that we have. I think that Anne actually put our whole entire schedule on the internet, so if people want to look at more of the stuff that we do on a monthly basis, we just put out a monthly schedule, and it changes a little bit depending on what our volunteers are doing, what our staff is doing, but the majority of it stays the same.
Right. As I mentioned in the beginning, we do have some extra resources for you. John very graciously gave me an Excel sheet of their entire monthly schedule. I put it in a PDF and we can make it available because there's a lot more than what is on here. Okay. Dear Amy, we're going to try again. Open you up and see if there's any special highlights you want to talk about in Sonoma.
Yes, and I have a new microphone. Is this any better? Hello? Can you hear me? Hi. So what I'd like to highlight is our art program and computer programs are extremely popular. We serve about 25 people a day in both of those programs. The art program is really an excellent stigma-reducing experience for both for our artists and for the community. Our artists have the opportunity to sell their art at art shows and galleries and our internal gallery here. And that has just made people more visible and more confident about their ability to be out in the community. Also, is it too noisy?
Amy, I'm going to do a little speaking for you because unfortunately about half of what you're saying is getting garbled and I don't want your program to be missed. I do want to add that as an additional resource we have for you an entire PowerPoint from the Sonoma Wellness Center that I wanted to put the whole thing on, but it was too much. She has beautiful photographs of what these community gardens look like, what the music jam sessions look like. So that is an additional resource. You can get a whole PowerPoint on just this one center. Okay?
All right.
All right. I asked the panel members to come up with what did they feel their crowning achievements were. As I said, there's so much wonderful stuff that they're doing. Just highlighting what are the main things. Boanna, you want to talk a little bit about the May's Mental Health Month?
Yeah. Last year we tried to do an activity every week to help reduce stigma and to make friends and stuff in the community. We had a proclamation by the supervisors that they were backing up May's Mental Health Month, or Mental Wellness actually, and we had also a drumming where Two Feathers came up and he gave an all-day teaching on history and drumming, and local Indians came and did the spiritual direction. They talked about several things that are locally done, and their spiritual leader, Phil Harper, did a tremendous storytelling session in the afternoon. It was really, really good, and it attracted so much interest from the people who came that we managed to arrange to have another one coming up May the 12th. This year it's going to be over in Hayfork at the fairgrounds, and we'll soon have some flyers out about it. We are still adding different vendors and participants to our agenda, so we were waiting till discover how many of them are actually going to be able to make it before we put out our flyer.
So for those of you who are in Northern California, if you want to come, we'll send you a flyer. I should point out.
We're also going to have a free movie for the public and people that want to come, and we're doing A Beautiful Mind.
And our local movie theater is sponsoring that. I should point out Trinity County is not exactly known for ethnic diversity, but our largest non-white population is American Indians of several different tribes and bands. And we have very good relations with the tribal councils here, and they've been fabulous working with us. The second point we have on there was part of our innovation plan. That was funded through MHSA, where we have a team, peer supports for consumers who are admitted to the respite bed. It's a fabulous program, and I could spend a whole day talking about it. So what I did is, again, to add an additional resource and not take too much time, there will be a PowerPoint available on a presentation we did on the MOST project for a statewide conference of occupational therapists. So I did it along with the 3 peer specialists. We went down to Sacramento and presented that. That PowerPoint is going to be available for you if you want more information about the MOST project. And we'd be happy to take emails from you to follow up if you want more information on that. Okay, moving on to Shasta. John, highlights, crowning achievements.
Okay, so, I mean, really, the being consumer staff is huge from our standpoint. It's just, again, they're employees of the nonprofit NBCSS, North Valley Catholic Social Service, which opens up a whole different level of what they can do. It's not just, they're not just assigned to second home necessarily. They're learning different programs within our agency. We have a staff that covers vacations for other programs. We have staff that go over and help out with all of our different fundraising events, along with monthly all-staff meetings for the agency. So just not knowing it when we hired, the self-esteem that's brought in being a part of a bigger picture was what my staff has really said that they've enjoyed being employed. And then from our program standpoint, when we had a garage, we have a really big garage, and it was just stuffed full of just stuff, nothing that we could really use. So we cleaned it all out, painted it black, built a backstage, and we were able to build a little theater. And we run plays that are participant written, ran, directed, and they actually star in them. And it's all participant ran. And we've had 4 successful plays now in just under 2 years. And it's, again, the stigma reduction is huge with that. We get a lot of mainstream people in. We don't just get, we're not preaching to the choir. You know, we don't get mental health. I mean, we do get mental health, but we don't just get mental health. We don't just get community health. We get people from Napa, people from all the different, the auto parts store, not Napa County. So, I mean, it's breaking down the stigma, which is huge, and I think that's why we put that on that slide. It's just, it's a fun place to be, and it's safe, and that's the number one. Our number one goal is just to feel safe and comfortable here.
Great. Amy, any brief thing you want to highlight about the crowning achievements of Sonoma?
I think our self-publishing of 2 annual literary journals has been a tremendous project and self-esteem raiser. These journals are available if you want to check out our website. I encourage people to take a look at that. And I think that a peer-run self-help model has just been invaluable for changing the paradigm of how mental health services are provided here in the county. The collaboration among mental health providers is really improving.
Yep. So I think there are some similarities. I am going to open this up for questions on the next slide here. I do have to make a comment. I mean, obviously all the centers are striving towards wellness and a reduction of stigma. But as an occupational therapist, I have to give my own point of view here. I am just so thrilled that 2 areas that will be looked at very closely is the role of creativity. All of you have very creative kinds of things. For those of you not familiar with occupational therapists, we tend to use a lot of creative modalities. And the other thing is developing clear career paths for peers and consumers, and that will actually be the topic of the next webinar, so it fits in very well, and I can see people really working on that. Okay, open for questions or comments.
Milestones Wellness has a question. Is anyone collecting consistent and accurate data on the types of resources, services, programs, and or activities utilized by clients or members?
I can answer that better at the end of this. I think we're just at the beginning of trying to do exactly that. We're going to talk at the end about how to do that better for everybody, And it also fits in with what we'll be doing on the 4th webinar, where we're going to be talking about how do you collect and evaluate data, which also ties in very closely to how things are funded. So it's a huge topic, great question. I would say we're probably right at the beginning of that right now.
Tiffany Henschel says, here in Mono County, we're trying to get people to come in on a regular basis, especially in our Mammoth Lakes location, which is a ski resort town. We don't have memberships. Anyone can come in. Does anyone have examples of some activities that are popular and bring a lot of people in?
I can speak on that. I'm Shasta County. The things that our consumers came up with is that they wanted an end-of-the-month birthday party. So we put a big whiteboard up, and we have all of our participants put their names on the board for their birthday for that month. And at the end of the month, during that month, we sell tickets just for $1. It by no means covers our cost, but it just helps out a little bit. But we sell one ticket, and they get like a hot dog, a bag of chips, and a water or a soda. And it's just, you know, they came up with it. We thought we'd implement it, and it's just blowing our numbers out of the water. I mean, we're getting 50 people on that day. What's nice is that when at the first of the month, when a lot of our participants get their money, they buy the tickets. And then by the end of the month, when their money's running short, they still got that ticket and they're getting a meal. So it's worked as a savings program a little bit too. But our attendance on that day is usually just really huge. They get to see what we're doing, and a lot of people come back throughout the month because of it. So we also, with NAMI, NAMI brings a big cake.
I'm going to back John up on that. Having been an occupational therapist for 35 years, food-related events always work really well. And I think it's more than just feeding the body, it's feeding the spirit, because it is by nature a social event. And then once people feel safe and comfortable, they'll come back for other things as well.
Sure. And one more thing, the creative thing, you know, I said that it doesn't cover our costs, but a lot of our participants will go out and solicit donations. They'll solicit to the meat company who will sell it to us for wholesale. We give them an in-kind donation slip, so they're covering their costs. And it's just another partnership. So.
Yeah, good point. Any other ideas for this person?
I'm unmuting Amy.
So I think we found that our music jam and our artistic activities are what has really brought people in and involved. For example, our music jam, which happens once a week, is pretty much anyone can play in this music jam. So it's members,
there's a picture of the Sonoma County Center Music Jam on the PowerPoint that you're given, and I would agree with Amy. Again, there's those creative, fun, non-threatening things that people can just try out, and that can be a way to get them in the door.
We have 80 people on the day.
Wow, that's great.
Okay. There's another question.
Okay, good.
Pardon me? Lisa, and I can't pronounce her last name, so I'm not going to even try, wants to hear a little more about the members' board of directors.
Oh, Anna?
The board of directors is elected by the consumers, and we were supposed to have an election the other day, and we had an incident here where we were unable to go forward. But our board of directors is basically in charge of things like what we're going to do at the center. They get to vote on activities they want to have, and they also get to help us determine what we're going to do with money. Right now we don't have a real experienced board, and so we're working on developing it. We went over recently, as a matter of fact, to Shasta County to watch them hold their election and see how their board of directors worked so that we could get an example and learn from them.
Anyone else have comments on the Consumer Board of Directors?
Yeah, ours pretty much does what Boana was saying, is that, you know, we have an advisory board that meet here once a month, and then we also have a volunteer leadership group that takes place once a week with the new ideas that the program wants to do, and then we take it to the board to see if it's okay with them. And again, it's all consumer-driven ran board, and it's elected by consumers also and public. So that's how our board.
I would just like to clarify that I know there are people here in the audience that have a situation where the Wellness Center is tied to the Behavioral Health Agency for the county. We have that here in Trinity. These are two separate boards. The board that is for the agency does need consumer representation on it and or family members on it. That is one of the bylaws. However, it is different from the Milestones Wellness Center board, which is all consumers.
And that's how we work too. Our nonprofit, Northern Valley Catholic Social Service, has its own board of directors. Second Home is also a nonprofit. They've got their nonprofit status, and we partner with each other. So.
Got it. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to talk about dilemmas, and I think some of the questions that have already come up have addressed this. Boana, do you have anything you want to highlight about Trinity, or would you like me to do this?
We're actually remote. A lot of people who want to participate in some of our groups are unable to do so because they have no transportation. And if they come in for clinical services and there's another scheduled run to their town, they can stay here and wait and go back then. But normally we do not have enough, we really have no way of helping people get here. And we do give gas vouchers or bus tickets sometimes, not gas vouchers anymore, bus tickets to people. It's a limited, very limited amount.
And there's limited service. One thing, again, for any of you who are in very rural areas, although you will see that everybody says funding is an issue, and again, our fourth webinar is going to be totally dedicated to that. But in the more rural areas, there is just a shortage of people who are ready, willing, and able to be staffed, even if we had the funding. So we have a couple of different issues in terms of resources. John, do you want to add anything?
No, like I said, when we did the training, I think Trinity and Sonoma really sum it up on this slide. We could agree 100%.
Okay.
That, you know, this whole slide is probably pretty close to all three of our major dilemmas.
Yes. Yes, I think funding is a big issue. There's a couple of unique issues some places, but, and again, Amy, I'm going to speak for you this time. You are addressing the issue of getting staff a living wage. We're going to talk next time about career paths. The issue of stigma keeps coming up over and over and over again. That's obviously something all of us in every center, in every county, needs to keep working on. And the issue of funding, which I said we're going to talk about in the fourth webinar. I think a lot of our dilemmas, even with very different contexts, are similar. Okay? Can we move on? Or is it, well, yeah, I want to do one more slide before we have questions. The flip side of dilemmas is, of course, plans, hopes, and dreams. And I did ask members of the panel to share with us what their vision is, where they want to go. Boana, Trinity?
We are hoping to achieve a 501c status someday. In order to do that, we need to have our board up and running a little more active than they are right now, a little more stable about who's in it.
Mm-hmm.
We have been taking our members to things like the California Mental Health Network conference and trying to help them become active in the state in some more training, and we're trying to develop speakers who might be willing to speak to stamp out stigma. I've recently been appointed to the advisory board for United Advocacy for Children and Families, and that's going to be one of their primary objectives too for the younger age group. We need to be able to provide things like education for jobs and stuff, training.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of our members need to work, they need money, and it is such a reward in self-esteem. So we're hoping to develop some more, but right now we're kind of stuck in midstream on them.
Yep. Okay, John, anything you want to add?
That's pretty much, Buena summed it up really well. I think that, you know, the job workforce is huge. It's our main dilemmas here. You know, the consumers and participants come, that's what they want to do. They want to work. A lot of them want to work. And like you said, Ann, being able to get them to that place, that's what we try and develop here. And then the housing. You know, affordable housing is just such a dilemma.
Right.
So being able to have good, clean, affordable housing would be one of our dreams.
Right. And again, we're going to talk about job development and career paths on the next webinar too, so I'll have a lot to say on that one. Amy, let's try and get you on again.
I'm not sure there's much more I can add to this particular slide.
Okay.
I think we want more human resources in terms of, I could see us having more staffing in the future, maybe even a bigger building, because we are getting more and more people interested in this recovery model.
Okay.
There's a lot to do.
Yep, there's a lot to do for sure. All right, now we've had two slides, dilemma, plans, hopes, and dreams, kind of the flip side of each other. And again, you see a lot of similarities between what we're all working for and what we're all coping with, but some differences. So I will open it up to the audience now, and Shoshana can gatekeep any questions either for one of the individuals or to the whole panel, and how does this information relate to your setting?
Lisa has a comment or a
Okay.
question. Mariposa County wants to know if there are any wellness centers that are open on weekends.
I can answer. Go ahead, John.
Second Home is, we're open from 8 to 3 currently. We're looking to maybe even expand that a little bit more on Saturdays. What we found on Sundays is that we were getting 0 to very limited participation. And interviewing participants, it's the day of church. It's also a day that they try and get together with family members. With our room boards and boards and cares, they do a lot of outreach and stuff on that day. So we thought, okay, we'd rather expand our hours on Saturday than be open a half day on both those days. And it seems to be working out fairly well.
For Trinity County, we used to be open on Saturday. Unfortunately, we had to cut it back, mainly because of limitations in staffing. We'd love to have that back open again. That's one of our things we're looking at the future, but we have to increase staffing first. Amy, what do you work on the weekends?
We do not work on the weekends due to limited budget. The Self-Help Center in Santa Rosa is open on Saturdays, and they have a very extensive rural recovery program on the weekends, which is highly attended, so we feel fortunate to have that resource too.
Okay, so it varies county to county. I would say my ideal thing is it would be nice to be 6 days. I agree with John, 7 isn't necessary, but Saturday when available and when funded does seem to work. Or any other questions, comments? No?
More.
Okay, let's move on. Wow, we've got through this much faster than I thought. I thought we'd have more conversation, but I think we can actually spend a little bit of time on this one, because the real question is, you've heard some great information about how 3 different wellness centers work. You heard about their dilemmas. What can we do collectively to sustain wellness models? I'd like to hear from the audience. Come on, folks, don't be shy.
There's a hand raised. Hold on a second. Wynn?
Thank you. 2 things. One is we've been a standalone nonprofit since 2009. We started in 2008 and are very happy to share our bylaws and anything with anyone who would need that. And then secondly, we were talking, staff and clients here watching the webinar, we would love to respond to your slides and answer those questions about our models and funding and make that available, or who can we send that so that other people can see what we're doing as well?
I would love that. What county are you from?
We're from Mendocino County.
Cool. I would love that. Shoshana, you will see on here that my email is on here as well as Shoshana's. And I think that the more resources we can make available, CIMH will put it up on their website.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Is that okay, Shoshana? I'm speaking for you.
Yeah, no, that's great. Please.
Okay. Okay. I think you're hitting a great point that one of the things we need to do is learn from each other and share resources. That can certainly help. Any other comments or questions? What do we do to sustain ourselves?
Christina has her hand raised.
Okay.
Huh?
Hello?
Hello.
Wellness Center in Inyo County again.
Thank
yes,
you.
I would like to see, hello?
Yes. We can hear you.
I would like to see a comprehensive website where all wellness centers could share their resources, and maybe a newsletter that could be mailed to different counties.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to get out of this slide for 1 minute to show you something else that just came to Shoshana and I's attention. Is anyone from this organization online? Okay. There is a new group. I don't know anything about them. As you can see, the press release came out March 25th. But they are attempting to start a new mental health consumer organization. And so far it seems to be primarily in the Bay Area. But I'm going to put this on, since it was a press release, I'm going to put this on the website. And there's more information. There's 2 people here listed that you can get more information. If, in fact, this organization gets off the ground, I think this is the place we're going to start, where the mental health peer-run organizations can get together. Again, I don't know anything about this other than that we just got the press release. But it looks like a place to start. It looks like that's exactly what they're trying to do, is to coordinate among the different mental health peer-run organizations. So this is new. We're on the ground edge of it, but I would, as I said, we're going to put this as an additional resource. I'm going to get in touch with these people, and you should feel free to, and see what we can move on with that. Hopefully that helps.
Wind has something to say. Yes.
I know you mentioned that you were going to possibly make available the PowerPoint presentation you made on the respite bed in Trinity. We were curious if that's who staffs the respite bed?
We have an unusual situation here in Trinity County. Again, very low population. We have one and only one board and care home. In fact, it just opened 2 years ago. And the arrangement that we had when we helped with MHSA money to get that set up is that it's 6 beds, and one of the beds is, instead of permanent residency, is meant for respite. So the respite bed is within the board and care home, and right in Weaverville, which is where we are. And the basic program is that as soon as someone gets into that respite bed, they are assigned a peer specialist from Milestones.
Nice.
who helps them maneuver their way through not only the crisis, but coming up with a plan and getting connected with resources. A huge part of what Boanna does and the other peer specialists is helping people get connected with necessary resources, whether it's food stamps or SSI, and that's just a huge, huge service.
Thank you. We have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So on somewhat of a different topic, at one of these webinars, can you talk to kind of the relationship between the peer centers and other services, particularly the county, and how referrals and coordination works, and any of those things as to how peer centers are a part of the system?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that right now, and I will try to add it more into the other seminars.
That's the county.
Go ahead.
You want to go first?
No, go ahead, John.
Okay, well, they come through our front door, we get them signed up, and they're needing mental health services. We can actually get them down to mental health. Part of we can. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of feedback again.
So once if we can get them down, if they feel like they need to get to mental health and they say, hey, we want to get there, if we get them through the door, we have an access team at mental health, and we take them there. So that's all voluntary. We have a good working relationship with the police here. If they feel like that they're a threat to themselves or others, we've got those means through the emergency room. So it is relationship building, but our mental health team is top-notch, and they work very closely with our program. They hold our contract, so it's funded through Chester County Mental Health, and they're great. So that's how we do it. Again, if we can get them through the front door, then they can get services at mental health.
I will add that on the PowerPoint that Amy Brackenrich developed for her site in Sonoma, she actually has a whole slide on referrals and where people come from and how they get referred. So I think that will answer a lot of your questions. My own take on this is that I agree with John, relationship development is what it's all about, and outreach and connecting and getting information. But in addition to that, I think every county has some unique issues with that, and I'm not sure how much we're going to be able to cover in the webinar. However, I would be happy to consult with you on that and find out a little bit more about your unique situation. My email is there. If you'd like to set up a phone conference and we can talk more about it, I would be happy to make myself available as a resource for you.
Susan, I mean, Lynn, did you have another comment? Your hand is still up, but we're getting a lot of feedback from you also.
No, thank you so much. No more comments.
Okay, thanks.
What else do we need to do? Resources you need. No more questions, comments?
Actually,
So
no, there isn't anyone.
Okay. Since we have more time than we thought, I thought we would have to take too much time. I'm going to actually show you the additional resources we've been talking about, and then I will come back to this. Okay? Okay. Let me show you John's activity schedule, except I'm going to have to zoom this up. Oh, why can't I do this? Sorry. There we go. So for those of you who are interested in programming, here's what the additional resource looks like. You can see they do quite a range. John, since you got this up, is there anything in particular you want to share about this?
Well, I mean, again, the big thing is letting people know where we're at. We send this out to all of our providers. Our email team is building every month. So we send this out throughout the community. Plus we have these. This is one of the first pieces of paper that someone coming through the door gets. So, you know, it's just another form of communication. The schedule you see, that's basically how we run. We don't serve lunch here, but a lot of people bring lunch. We're close to the mission. We can get them bus passes down there so they can get lunch. There's a couple other drop-in centers that do lunch, so we can get them down there if people need to go for lunch. And then just this is the different things that we do. So each box might change every month, but a lot of them, like the trauma and grief group, is really well attended on 10 on Tuesday and 10 on Thursday. Our art and exploration group, Mike and Greg, are actually two professional artists that come in and volunteer their time to do, you know, watercolors, oils, pastels, whatever they want. And then we have just, even though this is set, if someone says, hey, I want to do beading at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, we can do that. We've got usually someone here that can do it. So this is not set in stone by any means, but a lot of people, it's just a base for them. And then if they want to try and do something, we'll let them do it.
And I think this brings up the point that was brought up earlier is how do you get referrals? One of the things that John just mentioned is that they have an email list and they send this out. So right there, you're getting more people involved. And it may be people are not ready or not willing to talk about their dual diagnosis, but arts and crafts sounds cool, or seeing a movie sounds good. And again, that just gets people, before you can provide any services, you have to get them in the door. And so having things that are safe, fun, comfortable, gets people involved, gets people to the point where maybe they would be willing to accept a 12-step group or something a little more
and some of these groups are revolving, you know, like our theater workshop's pretty secluded or exclusive because those are the people getting ready for plays. But a lot of people come in and watch them rehearse, you know, and so we have that, we consider that.
That's cool.
But like if someone wants to come in and try trauma and grief, we just ask them to be on time. If they don't like it, they don't have to stay. You know, it's nothing's forced. It's all voluntary. So that's what I meant on that one slide, is that they can voluntarily come in and hang out all day if they want and just read a book or watch a movie or play the Wii. You know, it's but if they want to try a group, we just ask them to be on time for the group, but they don't by any means have to stay for that group.
Got it. Any questions or comments, either from the audience or from the other panel members, about this programming?
There's a hand raised. Hold on. Patrick Moriarty.
Oh. Go ahead, Patrick.
Hello, Patrick.
Patrick, did you mean to raise your hand?
He doesn't have audio, I guess.
I unmuted him.
Patrick, we can't hear you, so if you want to type a question, you can. Okay, sorry, Patrick, we are not picking you up, but it sounds like you know John, so you should go back and ask John. Okay, any other questions on programming or comments? I'll speak from Trinity County to say I'm so jealous. I mean, I wish we had the resources to do all the wonderful things that you're doing. I mean, I think for our small number of people and our small population, we do a great job, but boy, it would be so cool to be able to do this.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to show you the next resource is, remember I said that Amy and Susan came up with these absolutely wonderful photographs. Sometimes just seeing a photograph makes it come to life. So I'm not going to try and speak for Amy, but I did want to show you the pictures that are on this website. Okay, so here's just some general information about it. But as you can see, Amy brought up the point about how important the environment was, the peaceful and serene setting, and she shows some pictures of that. I know one of the things from Trinity County I miss terribly is when we had a separate center, we did have a garden. And although we have a membership at the community garden, it is different than having it right outside your door. And again, I'm speaking from my own background as an OT now. Having some connections to nature can be so therapeutic and so wonderful, and I was just so happy to see these pictures. She has, again, pictures of participants engaging in things like the computer lab. We talked about the jam session. Here's a photograph from her of the jam session, and talk about the literary journal. Again, I think the point that was made by one of the audience members about how do you get people in? How do you get them started? And these kind of activities not only are safe and inviting, they can create a great sense of ownership, belonging, and acceptance. So hats off to Sonoma County for doing this. I think that's a really fabulous offering.
There's a
and
question.
then the literary journal. Go ahead.
Sarah Davis wants to know, is there anything like this in the Bay Area?
Is there anything like this in the Bay Area? You know, I used to work in San Francisco, and wellness centers were just started. There's a lot of community-based organizations, but I'm not the person to ask anymore. That other source, the Campro press release, those are people from the Bay Area. I would email them and talk to them and find out some places you can visit. I know that there is quite a well-established one in Berkeley, but I'm not sure about some of the other counties, what they're really doing.
He says this was related to the last slide with all of the activities listed in the schedule.
Okay, let's go back to that. Okay. Question? Comment?
I think she just wanted to know if there were groups in the Bay Area that had similar activities.
I see. I see.
Is that right?
I think that. Okay. Again, I think there are, but things have changed since I've left San Francisco, and what I would do is contact the people who put out this press release. And again, this will be available on the CIMH website. If you need it immediately, email me and I can forward them to you. But let me look at this a little closer, because I think they talk about a couple of different centers.
Joyce Ott says Sonoma is in the Bay Area.
Well, yes and no. Coming from San Francisco, we never thought Santa Rosa was in the Bay Area. They did talk about the Berkeley Drop-In Center on this one, but again, I would contact these people, Sally Zinman or Eduardo Vega, who could probably give you much more direct information about what's going on in the Bay Area. Okay. Amy, I feel bad about your tech connection. Is there anything else you want to say about your PowerPoint?
I just encourage people to look at the PowerPoint and our website, and please feel free to contact either myself or Susan if you have further questions about our center or things in the Bay Area.
Right.
We feel like we are in the Bay Area in North Bay.
Okay. On the beginning of the main PowerPoint is Amy's email, and on her PowerPoint, the slide that I'm showing you now does have their website. So you can find out more information about what they're doing. Okay, there were some more questions about the MOST project. Okay.
There.
Yeah, thank you. I won't go through this whole thing, but I think the reason I wanted to offer you this side, this PowerPoint, was two reasons. One, it describes the MOST project and what we did, But also, this is an example of where peer specialists went out to a professional organization and presented at a state level. So we were doing partnership building and education and advocacy. So some of it is just review of what the Mental Health Service Act is and why OT fits in there. But mainly I offered it because it gives a pretty thorough description of what we were doing with the MOST project, how we were collecting data, what our goals were, who we collected data from. I do want to point out one thing because I thought this was, as a researcher, I thought this was very interesting. When we originally wrote up the innovation grant for MHSA, we focused on two things. How will this help the respite residents, and how does this help the MOST staff develop in their own career development and their personal recovery? I added a third piece. We ended up surveying the clinical staff on how this project affected them. It wasn't part of the original grant, but it turned out to be very significant. That one of the unexpected outcomes was that the staff reported a decreased workload because the peer specialists were doing all the work that typically a clinician ended up doing basically for free. You cannot bill Medi-Cal to get somebody on Medi-Cal. So their services on getting people hooked up for entitlements and resources took an enormous burden off of particularly our crisis workers. And again, it wasn't an outcome we expected. We hadn't even thought about it, to be honest. But sometimes, particularly with innovation projects, some of the best results are the unplanned ones. So there's just some data on that. And again, Boanna or I would be happy to talk to you about that more if you're interested in how that all went. So let's go back to this last slide. No, that's the first slide. Sorry. I'm sorry. Let's try this again. My apologies. So I also just want to emphasize that we have 2 more webinars coming up. On the next one, we're going to be focused on employees. I do have one guest speaker who will be speaking about her own personal experience in becoming an employee and how it's affected her emotionally and how it's helped with her own personal recovery. I am going to be talking about different employment models from volunteerism on through counseling and case management and everything in between. We'll talk about how to support peer employees on their career paths and different ways we can do that, and how to talk about mentorship and supervision and things like that within employment models. And then on the May webinar, we're going to talk about sustainability and funding streams. This covers a huge amount of information. I'm very happy to say that Adrienne Schulten from the California Institute of Mental Health has agreed to come on. She's actually going to be in a conference in Alaska that day, but she is going to come on and give us all an update on some of the, frankly, dramatic changes that's going to be happening on MHSA. For those of us who depend on Mental Health Service Act for funding, I would strongly urge you to tune in because she will be telling us about what's changing. But we're also going to talk about what other kinds of funding streams there are in addition or instead of MHSA. How do we become sustainable? So I think those would be 2 very helpful and very interesting webinars. Anyone who in the audience now who has some specific information on
Two more comments.
Good, go for it.
Okay, Patrick wasn't able to call in, so he
yes.
Says, good webinar, even John made sense. I'd like to focus on small rural communities. Redding has a population of 90,000. Bernie has a population of 3,000. Big difference in available resources. Would like to have Circle of Friends on a panel related to wellness centers in small communities.
Yeah, that would be very cool. I don't know where we're going to fit it in the next two, but I think Shoshana is probably keeping notes on what else we need to do in the future.
I am.
Okay, so those are always very welcome recommendations.
And I'm sorry.
Any additional comments?
And then Amy had an answer about the Bay Area programs. She lists a couple of programs: Mental Health Consumer Concerns in Contra Costa County, Office of Self-Help in San Francisco, Peers Envisioning Recovery in Alameda are some peer-run programs in the Bay Area. So that's for Sarah, who asked that question.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I'd be willing to do, if any of you have suggestions of places, contacts like Amy just gave us, particularly if you have websites or emails for them, if you send them all to me, I'd be happy to compile a list and then send it on to Shoshana for the website.
And then that's what I was going to say. With Circle of Friends, they've got a fantastic newsletter that they put out once a month, plus activity schedule similar to ours, different things but similar setup. And I'm sure Lynn up there would be more than happy to just email that stuff to you.
That would be fantastic, and in fact I'm going to actually recruit all of your help on that. One of the frustrations that I've had putting together these webinars, and several of you made comments similar to this, is that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. We're all doing these amazing things in our individual counties, but it is very difficult to coordinate. I think this new organization they're launching is a great idea, and I wish them success. I hope it works. But in the meantime, if you all will help me, sending me my emails right there, sending me any resources or any suggestions, I would be happy to put together kind of a starter resource list that we can put on the CIMH website. And I think that kind of hits at my point of this final closure comments is, where do we go from here? And again, I am happy to do that. I am more than, and we're answering that third question, how can we share knowledge and resources more effectively? Maybe one way is for me to start pulling together a resource list. And I'm happy to do that. Any other comments? But you have to email them to me because I'm not going to remember what you said here.
Amy says, love the idea of this resource list. Thank you for being so generous and helping us to come together in a different format.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'd love it.
Really appreciate your sensitivity in dealing with the difficult issues.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Amy. I would just, in closing, two things. One, I mentioned this on the first webinar, but for those of you who weren't on that, I have been a professor and an occupational therapist for 35 years. However, I'm always learning and I'm always growing, and I am completely open to any feedback, critical or otherwise. That's why I put my email on there. Please feel free to use me as a resource or to just give me a comment, even if it's critical. I'm very open to hearing it. And Shoshana's email is there. If you'd like some feedback directly to CIMH, please feel free to contact us. And then in closing, I just want to thank the panel participants, even the people who couldn't get on here today. Susan from Sonoma and Marlinda from Trinity, who was ill, and Susan had technical difficulties. I know that they put the work in, and this would not have been possible without them. As I said, my job on this webinar was only to try and get it down to a manageable amount of information, but I think we were successful in that. But I truly, truly thank their participation and all their hard work in making this possible.
And thank you, Anne.
Okay, I think we're done, unless there's any more final comments. Last call. Okay, I think we're done. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you very much. I hope you can make the next one on April 27th. And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.